Hello and welcome to the Pluribus Unum Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, this is something. So, this is a podcast series where I will do a secular talk, progressive voice, humanist report, Jimmy Dore style format, and what else? Talking about politics. In this format, I would go into a lot of news stories. Not this one. This is just gonna be a pilot episode for. I'm just gonna test the waters to see if I can do this for however many episodes. You see, first I'll start off with some news stories. Like Donald Trump does something. I don't know. Take a look at the news stories today. What did he do today? Something like that. Then in the middle I will do a little small educational thing where I will talk about a smaller political party that is not big enough to get its own video. Like, I don't know, a party that has that's registered in one state and has no historical significance aside from running a candidate in one election. Then hopefully after a while of doing this, I'll have some fan questions to answer at the end. But for the beginning episode, I will, rather than do that, I will stick with the format of introducing my political philosophy and stuff, and then move on to the topic of the 2020 election, because, believe it or not, the primaries have actually begun. I know it doesn't seem like that, but it has. So first off, my politics. What am I? Am I a Democrat or a Republican? Hint: the answer is none of them. My political philosophies is the philosophy of social democracy. What's that, you may ask? It's the philosophy of Bernie Sanders and Jeremy Corbyn, etc. The philosophy of, it's placed in the center left of the political spectrum. Another word that you would use to describe this kind of philosophy would be progressive. I also identify as a civil libertarian. Do whatever you want. You got nothing to handle. And another title that I would give myself is a Bernie-crat. Where did the inspiration for that come from? Well, now, first I'll go over some of my favorite politicians. What? I have favorite politicians? I'm surprised. There are a good many of them. Let me go over some of them. First off, let's start off with my favorite, Bernie Sanders. Wow, that's a shock. I bet you didn't know that. I bet my channel art didn't give any indications of that. Reason he's one of my favorites is that I agree with a lot of the positions that he's been fighting for since the 70s. You gotta give him credit where credit is due. He's been fighting for these same issues since the 70s. Not a lot of politicians can say, I fought for this issue since blank. A good amount of them can, but, you really want to say, oh, I've been fighting if I'm coming off as socially awkward during this, then that's because I am. Oops. I guess I should have prefaced it with that. Okay, next candidate. It's a candidate that you may have heard of. A candidate that is controversial. Who is he? He is Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Ralph Nader. You mean the spoiler? Reason he's one of my favorites is, he fights for a lot of the same issues as Bernie Sanders, and he stood up for a lot of the consumer rights even before he ran for president. Because believe it or not, many people forget he had a career before he ran for president and quote unquote spoiled the election in favor of George Bush. What? It's crazy. Why would you think that? Currently, he's an independent. Fuck. Next candidate on my list is Dr. Jill Stein. You mean her? The Russian bot that is currently the reason Donald Trump won the presidency? No. What I actually mean is the two-time Green Party candidate who was basically the progressive alternative to Barack Obama with his centrist policies. Whoa! You didn't expect me to be in favor of Jill Stein? I don't. You mean I don't believe in the conspiracy that Russia hacked the election? What? That's crazy talk. You see, this is why I shouldn't have. You see, this is why this first episode is gonna. I'm gonna look back at this in this first episode and be like, what's this? I don't know, Ness. Next on my list is Rocky Anderson. Who is Rocky Anderson? He was once at one point the mayor of Salt Lake City, and he was known for his more progressive policies than, say, Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton and stuff. And he created a political party of his own called the Justice Party. Of course! That's where Cenk got the idea for Justice Democrats. And I'm not making a conspiracy theory. Cenk openly supported Rocky Anderson throughout the majority of the 2012 election until election day actually rolled around. Rocky Anderson founded the Justice Party because he was sick and tired of the Democrats doing a lot of not so progressive ideals. He also wanted to basically say, screw you two-party system, and he ran for president in 2012. Another reason I kind of like him is he's an atheist. What? Atheists running for president? I've never heard of such a thing. I have an affinity for atheist presidents, and I'll let you guess which one. I'll let you guess why that is. If you know me personally, you'd probably know why I have an affinity for atheist presidents or atheist presidential candidates. The next person on our list of favorite politicians is an oldie. He's an oldie. Probably very few of you have actually heard of him. It is Eugene V. Debs, also known as Convict Number 9653. He was a perennial social democratic candidate who stood up for a lot of progressive, social democratic, and even socialist ideals, even when it threw him in prison. He was passionate and well-spoken and, well, dead, but, I mean, he wouldn't be alive anyways. I mean, this took place like over 100 years ago, so he'd be dead anyways. Also, I'm not editing too much of this. I'm only editing out like a lot of. The next candidate on my list is good old Dennis Kucinich. Who's that, you may ask? I'm glad you asked. Nobody. Because nobody loves... He is a progressive Democrat that ran for president in 2004, 2008, and ran for the Ohio governorship in 2018. I mean, he lost. Thanks a lot, Elizabeth Warren. But, I mean, he stands up for, like, universal health care, raising the minimum wage to $50 an hour, etc. A lot of other progressive ideals. You know, like a Bernie Sanders type guy, except instead of Jewish, he's a Catholic. Next candidate on our list is Jesse Ventura. Now, he's actually a huge stray, as Jesse Ventura is actually a, quote, fiscal conservative and social liberal. You might be thinking, wait, from these other candidates, you're not a fiscal conservative. What's this? Well, here are some of the reasons why I like him. One, he is adherently third party. All of his political campaigns were as a third party candidate or as an independent. Two, he is openly atheist, and that's a... I'll give you another guess. I'll give you a hint. There's too many reasons. Me and him agree on a lot of things that aren't fiscal conservatism. And three, he is not a pushover. You bring him a policy and he doesn't like it, he'll scream at your face, "Get out of my face, I don't like you." The next candidate on our list is Cecil Bothwell. Now, this is a candidate I know you guys don't know. You might be thinking, who's that? Well, Cecil Bothwell is a city council member in Asheville City, North Carolina. I don't live there, but he got some notoriety for certain things. I'll give you a guess. It's not because he was a Democrat. It was not because he was a progressive. It was because of his religious views. I'll give you another hint. Jesse Ventura and Rocky Anderson. He was an atheist. Whoa. Also, he didn't endorse Hillary Clinton, instead jumping off the Democratic Party and endorsing Jill Stein. The final candidate for America is Vermin Supreme. You might be thinking, wait, you mean the guy who wears a boot on his head? Yeah. He's one of my favorite politicians because he makes a whole joke of the political process. I mean, even though the United States presidency is a serious job, we can't forget that. Come on, this is a silly race. Why not have some fun while we're having it? Now that's it for America. But what's this? I have some favorite foreign politicians too. That's not a good thing for America, considering these other politicians outranked a lot of American politicians currently. Now, the first one, Jagmeet Singh of the New Democratic Party in Canada. He is a progressive / social democratic leader of the New Democratic Party and is pretty much the Bernie Sanders of Canada, i.e. minority of religious descent. That is actually a progressive fighting against the neoliberal current leader. Well, not current, because Obama left. But, you know, like, Trudeau's a centrist, believe it or not. I mean, you can do the research yourself. I'm not here to give Trudeau more credit, but, like, Trudeau is seen as the centrist disguising himself as a left-winger with the charisma and other aspects that made Obama president. The next candidate is Jeremy Corbyn, the leader of the Labour Party and currently the leader of the opposition in Parliament. He is basically an English Bernie Sanders. Further evidence of that being that Corbyn endorsed Bernie Sanders in the primary process. I mean, why wouldn't he? Jeremy Corbyn's an actual democratic socialist. Bernie Sanders is a self-espoused democratic socialist. They went hand in hand. And now the next one is actually the biggest surprise of them all. A candidate from Mexico. His name is... I'm gonna screw this up, and I think I am gonna screw this up. Andrés Manuel López Obrador, better known as his acronym AMLO, currently the leader of Morena, which is a left-wing political party that he himself created in Mexico. He ran for the presidency in 2000. He ran for the presidency of Mexico in 2006, 2012, and 2016. He is, I mean, he's pretty much the Mexican Bernie Sanders, except for one major difference. Looking at the polls for Mexico's election, AMLO looks like he's gonna win, and I'm ecstatic. I mean, I don't live in Mexico, but I mean, it's good to have an actual left-winger in the head of the government in North America. We don't see many of those except for the Central American socialist leaders. Well, socialists of the 21st century, as they call their ideology. When I try to say it like Jordan Peterson. I'm not Canadian. So that's it for favorite politicians. If your favorite politician didn't make the cut, I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do. I don't like them. Now, this is where it's going to get weird, because I still haven't gotten to the issues that I like. But do you know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to give you a list of political parties I would join. What? That's crazy. There's a list? I mean, most people, they just go one and done. But not me. I actually took a look at, believe it or not, every registered political party on Wikipedia to find out which ones fit my ideology the best. And I've narrowed it down to 7 third parties. The Democratic Party ranks at the very bottom, and that's only under Justice Democrats. But here are the actual interesting ones that you might not know. Number 1, the Green Party. I agree with a lot of the policies of the Green Party, but they're noticeably further to the left than me. I would identify as a social democrat, while they would identify as an eco-socialist. But, we pretty much agree on all the same issues. The only difference is, pretty much name and certain policies. But, the meat of the issues, we pretty much are yeah, I agree 100%. The Justice Party? What? Rocky Anderson back again with the Justice Party? I mention Rocky Anderson a lot, even though he hasn't really done anything since 2012. They're pretty much the progressive wing of the Democratic Party that's split off. And when I say the progressive wing, I don't mean all the progressives leaving to create their own party, because that would be a smart idea. Nah, not really. Instead, they decide, it was only a few members, and currently they're really only registered in one state. So that's why they don't rank as high as the Green Party, even though I technically agree more with the Justice Party. Because, just look at it pragmatically. Which smaller left-wing political party would you join if you had the chance? The one registered in a good majority of the states, or one that's registered in one state that I can't find? The next one on the list is actually a surprising turn. The U.S. Pirate Party. Arr. The Pirate Party, and before you think, no, that's not actually what it is. It's not like actual, like, Jack Sparrow pirates. I mean, like, it technically means piracy, but not actually piracy, but, like, they're pretty much a political party that is formed to combat copyright laws and further open government, ending NSA surveillance, etc. You know, and don't get me started on net neutrality. I mean, if the leaders of the Pirate Party could meet Ajit Pai firsthand, well, there'd be no more Ajit Pai. Let's just say that. They tried to endorse the political campaign of Lawrence Lessig in 2016, but since they weren't that big, even though they're registered in a good majority of states, they don't have the resources to actually run political campaigns themselves. And they've rarely endorsed a candidate. But Lawrence Lessig, they tried to openly endorse him, but he wouldn't really accept it. I don't necessarily know why. Maybe because he made a TED Talk where he explained how something about the Pirate Party, he likes the idea of a pirate party, but he doesn't like them using the name pirate, as that implies, you know, we're gonna steal your movies, etc. The next party on this list is the Working Families Party. It is a progressive and social democratic party that is currently a major party in New York City, believe it or not. And when I say they're a major party, that technically gives them the right to run their own candidates, but they don't, because New York allows fusion voting, where they can vote for whoever they want. Like currently they're endorsing Cynthia Nixon, who I am also endorsing, believe it or not. Go to my website, there's a whole tab about endorsements. I've endorsed quite a few candidates for current races and future races. Hint, hint about 2020. But they, even though they don't formally endorse candidates per se, no, I'm sorry, they don't run candidates. They stand up for a lot of, like in 2016, they endorsed Bernie Sanders, despite the fact that Hillary Clinton seemed more likely to win. I mean, Julian Assange proved that she was going to be 100% win, but, you know, we can't say that, otherwise people will think I'm a Russian bot. The next party on the list is the Socialist Party USA. What? I'm a dirty socialist now? I guess I gotta go to prison. Sorry guys, John McCarthy. Is that him? John McCarthy? I think it's John McCarthy. John McCarthy's gonna get me. It was nice knowing you. This channel was only open for a little bit before I started posting videos, but we had a good run. Joseph McCarthy's coming after me. But like Eugene V. Debs, like the Socialist Party USA, believe it or not, actually isn't purely socialist. It's actually a multi-tendency organization, which is an organization that endorses many left-wing candidates. They can be as close to the center as progressives, or as far to the left as communists. And since I'm a social democrat, which is center-left, I happen to fit the bill for Socialist Party USA. Like, I have to be specific. This is Socialist Party USA, not the Socialist Party of America. They're two separate organizations. Because The Socialist Party that Eugene B. Debs was a part of was Socialist Party of America, which later reformed into Social Democrats USA, which is a political action committee. And Socialist Party USA is a faction, which doesn't make any sense to me, because wouldn't if the Democratic Party fell, they wouldn't split into two organizations and then call a major organization centristdemocrat.org or something. I mean, it'd be accurate, but I mean, they wouldn't do that. The next party on the list is the Peace and Freedom Party. They're further to the left than me, as again, they're a socialist party. I'm not a socialist. I'm not proving that I'm not. But I'm not. My policies will reflect that I'm not a socialist. But they support a lot of left-wing ideals that I fully am behind. And they endorsed Ralph Nader in 2008 when he ran as an independent. Now the last one is the Legal Marijuana Now Party. It's a social democratic and pro-marijuana party, and I'm both of those. I'm social democratic, I'm pro-marijuana, but I'm not a party, so I guess I lose that. Okay, now on to actual issues. Social issues. Church and state must be completely separated, i.e., remove "In God We Trust" from all government property and currency. Now, that's a controversial statement, believe it or not. But I'm just saying, it's fair to everyone if we just don't have it all together. I mean, if you're a religious person in the audience, would you want someone to have in their money in Buddha we all trust or in Allah we all trust? It's just fairness. Now, this one is actually a lot more controversial than the last one. If the church tries to make any government organizations, try to openly do something to influence the government, well, the wall between church and state goes both ways. The government does not attack the church, and the church does not attack the government. But if the church goes to try and do something to openly influence an election, like give all their church money to a presidential candidate, guess who's losing their tax-exempt privileges? They are. Okay? Now, I know that's a controversial statement, and you can hit me in the comments about, well, you can't do that because God, church. And now this is where my libertarian side is showing. My libertarian side is showing up in these next couple ones. Homosexual couples will receive the same rights as heterosexual couples. I know that's a radical idea, believe it or not. I'm sorry, guys. I have to cancel this podcast because this idea is way too radical. Treating people equally, I think I'm just going too far, guys. I'm too far to the left. I gotta cancel the show. Polygamy and prostitution will be perfectly legal. Okay, now that's actually controversial. I'm a controversial man. I do the weeds. I do the wacky tobacco. I do the sticky icky. I'm a cool man. Marijuana possession. Marijuana will be legalized, and every individual who is incarcerated for purely marijuana law, violating marijuana law, will be set free into the world. See? That's how we solve our prison problem. Anybody who's just there for nonviolent drug offenses, throw them out. You serve your time, you're done. Next one, decriminalize drug use. I'm on the fence of actually legalizing all drugs, believe it or not. I mean, I got people on one side saying we gotta legalize all drugs because blank, and then there are people on the other side going like, we're gonna open the doors to blank. So my solution is pretty much just decriminalize it so that we don't just throw you in jail for doing crack cocaine. You just go to rehab or something. The next one, abortion should be legal. There's not much to really say. I think we solved this Beck versus Roe v. Wade. We're good. The next one, we're getting into gun control. Handguns and rifles will be permitted for personal use, but with increased background checks and no guns for mentally unstable people. I mean, that's pretty much just what people think of when they think common sense and gun control. It's like drugs. Drugs and guns are pretty similar, except they're not. But you'll get what I'm trying to say in a minute. If you're a smart, responsible person, why shouldn't you be allowed to use drugs? And if you're a smart, responsible individual who knows the laws and follows through with the laws, why shouldn't you be allowed to carry a handgun at home? Now this is where it gets weird. The next one, semi-automatics will be banned or severely regulated. Like, you see, since I'm not a gun expert, I'm not going to point to a specific gun being like, we gotta ban this one, because then they'll put me in a ton of videos versus a lot of gun experts being like, actually that gun isn't that bad. So let's just say if I were president and I wanted to introduce stricter gun control, I would actually work with the NRA and basically be like, yo, which guns do you show me all the kinds of guns and show me their power and stuff, and let's see which ones should be regulated more and which ones should be regulated less. That doesn't sound like a crazy idea. Working with a guns rights a guns rights group to actually help better the world, it doesn't sound like that crazy of an idea. Or maybe it is, I'm just talking like an idiot. Next, immigration. Immigration will be allowed, and all permanent residents should be made citizens and establish an Ellis Island-like estate at the border. Doesn't seem like that crazy of an idea. I mean, I don't think we would build a huge Statue of Liberty there to be like, give us your poor, needy, and sick. We don't need that. We just need I mean, it seems logical. Just build a building at the southern border so that they can get their immigration done right then and there. Just like back in the 30s. Next, Puerto Rico and DC will become the 51st and 52nd states respectively. See, I'm pro statehood for these two places because, I mean, why shouldn't Puerto Rico be a state? I'm failing to see the logic here. We have, in fact, I think all territories should actually be given the option either become your own country or become a state, because I don't see any reason why we need territories. I mean, colonialization happened years ago. We don't need a territory that we don't actually have full governance over. Or, I don't understand territories too much. For DC, it's just because a lot of people really want DC to be a state, so why not? I mean, if you get enough people to want to be a state, why not? I mean, you're still being governed by the same president and same Congress. You just gotta... I mean, I get why they don't do it too much, because then we could just be like, my house is a state and my house is a state. But I'm just saying, it doesn't seem too unlikely to have this territory that has already a lot of ways to be governed to be a state. Next one. For net neutrality. I guess you can see why I'm with the Pirate Party now. There's no question, just for net neutrality. Next. Vaccinations. Ooh. Vaccinations. Now this one will actually be a bit controversial even for those who are for vaccinations. Mandatory vaccinations for the flu or any other contagious disease and polio. Why those? You know why it's just for contagious ones, but why did I specifically name the flu and polio? Well, one, because the flu is the most prominent out of all of the contagious diseases that children get, and polio because I saw a video once of a man who had polio, and he's describing how the polio vaccination saved his life, pretty much. Well, I mean, it didn't save his life, but it saved the life of many of the people who were around him, and how since it wasn't mandatory, that his parents didn't really vaccinate him for polio, and, well, he got polio, and he doesn't really want another outbreak of polio because the man lives pretty much a terrible life. The man was actually close to death because his iron lung was pretty much out of parts, and he had to kickstart to get them to build a brand new iron lung out of old parts that nobody uses anymore. Someone had to actually go and find an old manual to create an iron lung, and many of the parts that they had to create the parts to create the iron lung from scratch. Next one. Crackdown on police brutality. Now this is one I'm surprised nobody has ever stated before, or if they have, I haven't seen them. This is just pretty simple. 3 simple rules with police officers and their chiefs. 1. If a police officer kills an innocent person, they're arrested with manslaughter. I mean, done deal. If a police officer injures an innocent civilian through clear use of, them just going up to a random guy and being like, get down on the ground, the police officer will be fired, blacklisted, and they will be forced to pay, if not the medical bills of the individual, and if we're already in a universal healthcare system, then just pay them a fine. And next, if their superior gives them anything except jail time, if the police chief is like, no, I'm just gonna give you a paid vacation while we wait for this to blow over. Guess who else is going to jail? Him. Ay Dios mío. Next, we're at foreign policy. Ooh, the thing Bernie Sanders was apparently lacking in. This actually is a small list, believe it or not, because foreign policy is pretty much easy for me. 1. Remove all drones, soldiers, and bases out of the Middle East. No timetable, just now. If I was sworn in as president, that would be pretty much the first one or two things I'd do. 2. Do not intervene in the affairs of other countries unless we are attacked. well, I mean, aside from the UN, that's another thing. Stay in the UN and possibly NATO. I don't really know too much about NATO per se, but pretty much stay in the UN so we can help with worldwide diplomacy. Because, I mean, if the US withdraws from both NATO and the UN, everybody's gonna think, well, what's the US up to? Why are you pulling into both of these organizations? Are you planning something? I don't want people to think the US is planning something bad. Next, end the draft. Just end the draft. We don't need a draft anymore. We're not Vietnam. We saw what the draft did last time with Vietnam. Look what it did. A ton of people are dead. We don't need the draft. All military service should be voluntary. It just seems pretty simple. Ooh, and sorry, Mr. Beat, but this is one that you're gonna hate. Put tariffs on companies attempting to outsource. Please don't hurt me, Mr. Beat. Still love you. Heart. I mean, we just disagree on this one thing. I mean, for foreign policy, we pretty much agree on everything. Get out. Pull out game, be strong. But I mean, tariffs, yeah, you and me are kind of in disagreement. I mean, if you want, you can schedule a chat with me and we could talk. It wouldn't be a debate because I'm terrible at debating, but, you know, we could talk and maybe come to some kind of agreement about tariffs. Next, allow refugees from Syria and other areas in after a thorough vetting process. I don't know why I specifically said after a thorough vetting process, because we actually have a very thorough vetting process. Our vetting process is very, very strict. And our border policy as well is very, very strict. People make it seem like it's just a revolving door with immigrants and refugees. It's just a revolving door. As soon as the criminal gets in, we can send them back and they'll just come back in. Not really. Our processes are really thorough because the US is extremely xenophobic. We just have this innate fear of outsiders. Not even just the brown people. I can say that because I'm Hispanic, actually. But it's not just that we're scared of other people based on race. We're scared of them because they're strange cultures. And that's a quote from them, not me. I'm not. I like Mexicans. I like refugees. I had a film club in high school when I was a freshman in high school. I was in a film club, and there was a Muslim girl. She was nice comparatively to the most. She was nice. I mean, all of the drama kids were nice because she was also my drama class. Speaking of her, she was openly from Palestine. Guess what's the next issue? The Israel-Palestine conflict. Like all other things, we pull out. We don't directly involve ourselves with them. And specifically, we cut off all funding to Israel because, personally, I support the two-state solution with the original 1947 plan. Like the original 1947 plan, and basically tell Israel, hey, you gotta do it this way, or you're not getting any support from the U.S. Because the U.S. and Israel are currently the only two countries in the world that do not consider Palestine a country. Every other state in the United Nations voted for Palestine to be considered a country and to be allowed entry in the UN. U.S. and Israel are the only two countries that voted no. There was another country, but they eventually went back on that issue and were like, yeah, Palestine's a country. Even North Korea considers Palestine a country. You can look it up on Wikipedia. it's actually true. Economics policy. What? Economics? I'm not Milton Friedman. I'm not an economist. First one, higher taxes on the rich, and then lower in the middle class keep their stagnant taxes. I mean, taxes should be pretty much a progressive taxation system. It seems simple. You're rich, you got more money to pay. If Donald Trump pays like $100,000, or not just $100,000, but like $1 million taxes or something, it's not gonna hurt him. He's not gonna be like, now he can't afford 3 yachts. That's ludicrous. Next one. The U.S. minimum wage should be based on inflation. Currently, it should be at $10 or $15. You see, this is actually where conflict arises, because I have a friend, and she believes that it should be $10, whereas the me inside kind of wants it to be $15, and both sides are presenting equally sound arguments for either one. So I'm kind of on the fence of which price it should be, which price the minimum wage should be, $15 or $10. I'm on the fence. The next one, drastically decrease our military funding. Drastically if we can move all the funds, if we can move a ton of those funds from the military to our healthcare system and universal college, do you know how much universal college we could pay with that? Like Jimmy Dore said, Bernie Sanders' plan was like $65 billion, and then the U.S. decided to increase the military budget by like $100-something billion. People like, Bernie Sanders, you want $65 billion to pay for college? That's crazy. Where are you gonna get the money? If we can just print money out of thin air, then why not print that money for U.S. healthcare? I think we need it there the most. And next, taxes. Oof. Now this is actually, for every individual, your taxes will pay for the following. 50% of your taxes will be paying for U.S. healthcare. That's basically your healthcare check. You know the bill that you pay to your insurance. This is pretty much your bill. 20% of your tax money will go to fund police and firefighters. 20% will go to public schools, and then 10% will go to the military. And when I say this money, I don't mean like the money collected as a whole. I mean like from every individual, the taxes that you pay will split your individual taxes into that. It seems like a stupid idea, but I'm not good at economics. I nearly failed my civics class because my economic portion of it was terrible. Or it could be that the teacher was really crappy and said that Ross Perot and Ralph Nader were spoilers, but it's just crazy. The environment. First, we need to move to more environmentally friendly forms of energy. Like solar energy, that kind of jazz. Next, we would never expand offshore drilling of any kind. The Constitution Party doesn't have a right. They say that it's our God-given right to take all the oil. I say, let's at least wait. Let's at least let's try a plan B before we take all of our resources away from us. And on that note, no fracking and no Dakota Access Pipeline. I mean, Face Spotted Eagle had it right. No Dakota Access Pipeline for me. I mean, she said she was fighting against it because it was going over Sioux Nation ground. I'm fighting against it because it's not a good idea. If that oil spills, we're in deep doo doo. I mean, besides, Flint, Michigan still doesn't have any water, believe it or not. No clean drinking water. We could use that pipe to fix Flint, but oil's more money. We invaded Iraq for a reason. This next one is a bit of a more outlandish idea. Plant trees in abandoned areas. I mean, that's just the hippie in me talking, going like, "Yo, bro, if we just plant trees, we'll be fresh." I mean, it's kind of a simple idea, but it could do something. Next one: join any treaty to better the nation. Kyoto Accords and Paris Climate Agreement. I'm talking about you guys. Next one: heavy regulations on carbon emissions. Would I do a carbon tax? Not sure. I mean, maybe on corporations, but not on the individual person with a car. It doesn't seem quite easy for that. Next one: heavy regulations on emissions. Corporations, I'm looking at you. You're gonna gotta. It's just simple. You give them, you raise their taxes even more for doing that, and you tell them you can't do that. They won't do it. They're not gonna just say no. They're not gonna be like no. They're not gonna. We're gonna keep pumping this poison gas in the air. But people look at me like I'm a crazy person. Next one: abolish the Electoral College and replace it with an instant runoff voting system, or also known as a ranked voting system. How does this system work? You may ask. I'm glad you asked. I might make a video about this in the future, but I'm just gonna give a brief explanation here. You vote for a candidate, then when that candidate, you get a ballot of all the candidates. I'm gonna use the 2012 election as an example. So the 2012 election ballot, here are the candidates: Rocky Anderson, Jill Stein, Gary Johnson, Barack Obama, Mitt Romney, Virgil Goode, and I don't know, Andre Barnett of the Reform Party, even though the party basically doesn't exist anymore. Anyways, that's a hint for the future video. But anyways, you take all those candidates, then you rank them from your favorite to least favorite candidate. You only need 3, but here, I gave this example. Here's my example of the ballot. For number 1, I'd put Rocky Anderson. For number 2, I'd put Jill Stein. For number 3, I'd put Gary Johnson. And then for number 4, Barack Obama, just to be fair to him or something. I don't know. No, I'm not an Obama fan. He's no change. I mean, probably better than Romney, but I guess I have the advantage of doing this in hindsight. So basically, when the ballots are counted, my vote to Rocky Anderson is counted, and then let's say Rocky Anderson does not get. With this kind of voting system, a candidate would not get more than 50% on the ballot, since the candidates would be more evenly split. Then let's say, of course, Rocky Anderson doesn't get enough votes to get a majority, so Rocky Anderson is eliminated. His vote then moves to my second choice, Jill Stein, and then we count again. And let's say she doesn't get the most on the ballot, then her vote moves to Gary Johnson, and so on and so forth, until a candidate receives a majority. The disadvantage is that it inevitably still continues the two-party system, but it effectively destroys the whole, if you vote for a third-party candidate, you're a spoiler. Because, I mean, third-party candidates will be like, well, I voted for the Democratic candidate as my second choice. Next, abolish superdelegates. Oof. Democrats, I'm looking at you. You're the only party that has superdelegates. I don't know why, but especially considering they can vote for whoever they want. Dan Lipinski only voted for Bernie Sanders because his district voted for it, because he is principled, even though he's a blue dog Democrat. He would have voted for you, Hillary, if his district went to you, even if he didn't want to. Even if his district went to Bernie Sanders, he was voting for you in the end. Next one. Automatically register people to vote at age 18. I don't see why this is apparently difficult, because, I mean, it increases voter turnout and decides to basically, you know, hey, I'm gonna vote for you because you're the most vote. I get having a difficult time to explain this, but it just seems like a simple concept to me. If you automatically get registered to vote, there's no need to go to the DMV, get your voter registration. No, I'm gonna have to do that because I'm not registered to vote because I'm not 18 yet. We'll be in July 3rd. You know what I'm gonna do that day? I'm going to roll up my pockets because I gotta go register to vote. I lied. I don't do the weeds. The beginning of this podcast is a lie. I didn't do the weeds. I don't do this sort of smokies. I don't smoke. That's a bad thing. I don't do that. Next one. Permanently register. Like, if you're a permanent resident, you should be allowed to vote. I mean, if you're an immigrant that's going to live here for the rest of your life, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be allowed to vote. I mean, if you're a permanent resident, you're going to pay taxes, you got to do all the normal jazz that a normal citizen does, and then you're just going to vote. It's as simple as that. Next one. Complete campaign finance transparency, and of course, limit the amount they can donate. Lawrence Lessig had the right idea. You gotta limit the amount, and you gotta make it very clear who is endorsing who. Because, I mean, if Hillary Clinton one day has an endorsement, if we should know if she's getting money from, if Mr. Beats donating money to Hillary Clinton, I don't know why he'd do that. Maybe he just got bored and had like $1 million to spare. Then we should know who's giving Hillary Clinton money. So I didn't even realize what the next one was, because I have this written down in my Google Docs. I didn't even realize what the next one was. Speaking of Hillary Clinton, if a presidential candidate is currently under investigation, their campaign must be put on hold because, and if this has to be like a real investigation, like the Hillary Clinton thing, you know, if there's evidence pointing to wrongdoing, your campaign should be put on hold until they can actually look in and be like, wait, what is this? Why did you delete those emails? I don't know. Next one. Establish Election Day as a national holiday called Democracy Day, and either keep it on the same day, or like you know, the November date, or if we want to give the presidential candidate less time to prepare, make it December 7th. This is kind of an outlandish, like, history nerd idea, like, oh, you know why it's December 7th? Because that's the day the Constitution was ratified. It's just a history nerd thing. You don't actually have to do that. Just keep it on the November date. Just make it a national holiday. It seems easy enough. Next one. All presidential candidates that have access to at least 270 electoral votes will be allowed to get in the general debates. Example, in 2000, do you know how many candidates would have been in the 2000 debates? I'll list them off. George W. Bush for the Republicans, Al Gore for the Democrats, Pat Buchanan for the Reform Party, Ralph Nader for the Green Party, Harry Brown of the Libertarian Party, Howard Phillips for the Constitution Party, and John Hagelin of the Natural Law Party. Because, believe it or not, those are all the candidates that managed to get on the ballot in all 50, not all 50, they managed to get on the ballot in 200, they managed to get 270 electoral votes. That should be a bit more of a reason to be in the debate than 15% in the polls, if you ask me. Now, the next one, which is, believe it or not, this is actually going to explain a stupid thing. Every candidate will automatically be allowed to be a write-in candidate in every state. I've always found it stupid, you have to register as a write-in candidate, because a write-in candidate is literally someone writes your name on the ballot. That should not be a thing that is allowed. Not the write-in thing itself, but it shouldn't be you gotta make sure it's okay for me to write you in, because you know how many people vote for Mickey Mouse every election, or God, or somebody. It shouldn't be against the rules to write someone's name in. If you think they're qualified for the ballot, it shouldn't matter if they're officially running or not. It's better to pick someone who's officially running, because then they have actually prepared for this. But if we all wrote in Ron Paul's name in 2020, and then Ron Paul's wait, I have to literally get all this done by January, because I literally had no plans for this. The next one, the electoral districts will be drawn by nonpartisan organizations. I live in North Carolina, so you can probably see why I, in particular, am a bit mad at gerrymandering, because it's in my good home state of North Carolina. I've lived here my whole life. Why would you do this to me? Why would you do this to me, North Carolina? First segregation, now this. What's next? You're gonna introduce a transgender bathroom law? I guess technically that was the third strike. Maybe I should move. Nah. Moving is too difficult. Crime. There are really only two things for crime. I probably should have put the police one under crime, but crime, no solitary confinement. Just watch the Adam Ruins Everything about solitary confinement, and you'll see why I'm not in favor of it. 2, the death penalty. The death penalty will only be used in the most severe situations with undeniable evidence. So, let's use the infamous example. If Kitty Dukakis were raped and murdered, would you put the murderer under the death penalty? If there was 100% evidence that that person did the crime, then death penalty. If there is no evidence, but if there's undeniable, if there's video evidence of the person doing it, or an audio recording of the situation at hand, then yes, death penalty. But if the evidence is not 100% finalized, then life in prison. It's kind of easy, but you might be thinking, well, Why Kitty Dukakis? If you're not a political nerd, you don't understand why Kitty Dukakis. I know who's getting it. Someone, the political nerds watching this are like, yeah, I get it. Next one, national security. First one is pardon Edward Snowden and all whistleblowers. Every single whistleblower. Chelsea Manning, Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, all pardon them. Pardon all of them. They don't need to be criminals. They're not criminals to me. They're heroes. Why isn't CNN doing that? Next, open up a network where whistleblowers can talk freely. Well, I mean, technically we already have that. It's called WikiLeaks. But, I mean, maybe you can make that an official, like... Actually, no. Making it an official government thing would be terrible. But, I mean, whistleblowers should not be punished. They should be praised for what they do, not derided as criminals, or even traitors, as Ben Shapiro would say. Next, repeal the Patriot Act. I'm not entirely sure if it's currently repealed or not, but if it's not, repeal it. If it is, don't bring it back. Next one, end NSA surveillance. I think it pretty much goes hand in hand with repeal the Patriot Act, but, I mean, just to, like, set it in stone, set it in writing, and NSA surveillance ASAP. Next one, reform the TSA. I mean, I don't want to get too much in detail about the TSA. There are a lot of articles pretty much explaining, like, how the TSA violates just your personal space, but, like, well, groping you to find any bombs, any contraband in your pants. No, but, well, there is contraband in my pants if you catch my drift. There's not actually contraband in my pants. Just a heads up. This isn't to all the NSA people listening to me. I don't actually have contraband in my pants. I'm just making a gag, making a joke, so I could hopefully make people laugh. Next one, immigration. We actually covered like one of these, but like just to reiterate, make citizenship easier. There should be no quotas on the amount of illegal immigrants. That there should be like no 100%. There should be like you can only have this many people from Russia or this many people from China. No, it's just a stupid law. Now, the next one, grant amnesty to all illegal immigrants who came before, I'll issue a pardon, like, that'll grant full amnesty to every, like, if I were president, I would be like, okay, today I'm going to issue a full amnesty pardon to all illegal immigrants who came here before today. Now, the next one, no deportation unless a serious crime was committed. Wait. Oh, I messed up. I messed up on something. It was back to voting things. I forgot to add the law of, like, making convicted felons allowed to vote. Because I mean, what are felons gonna do when they get into the White House? I mean, like, are they gonna be like, let's all vote for Jeremy the Stabby Man to... I mean, I don't see why they shouldn't be allowed to vote. I mean, even in practicality, why would you ban felons from voting? Like, it's not gonna be like, oh, I was gonna murder these 3 people, but I mean, you know, since it would take away my right to vote, nah, I'm good. Next one, education, and this is the last one. The one thing about education. Reform Common Core. I don't have much to explain about this because this is the one I've actually been kind of lax on. Because, it's not much to say. I don't know how to reform Common Core. I'm not a man. I am, but you know what I mean. No, you don't. Well, since this has been going on for like an hour, I think it's best if I guess we'll cover the 2020 candidates in another video because, well, I didn't realize it was gonna be this long. I'm looking at the recording on Audacity now, and it's like 1 hour and 11 minutes. Thanks for listening to my stupid, socially awkward podcast. Hopefully you like it, because this is actually really easy to make. I could just quit making these good videos and make this for the rest of my days on YouTube, and I'd be set for life. I'd make money. But hopefully I'll be introduced on another podcast or something. I'm looking for, because this is boring, listening to my voice all day. I'd like a co-host. Hit me up if you want to be a co-host. But if not, I actually did better than I expected. So anyways, that's it for today. If you like my channel, please hit the subscribe button and click the bell notification. And then remember to click the notification that gives you all my notifications, not sometimes, all of them. You'll know because it has the two little thingies next to the bell. And well, have fun being a nerd.